Hi, I'm Ms. Marmite Lover, also known as Kerstin Rodgers. I've written a book called Supper Club, and today I'm going to bake marigold rolls. One thing I would recommend everyone invests in is a digital scale. They cost about £25, and especially for baking where you've got to be accurate, it's absolutely have to have those in your kitchen. I need to add 500 grams of flour. I'll also put 20 grams of the semolina in. This adds a bit of texture. 50 ml of good olive oil. 70 grams of sunflower seeds. And I add a few marigold petals. The reason I decided to put marigold petals in it is because it's seasonal, it's floral. Marigold's supposed to be very good for you. It's good for your skin. A little squirt of honey and some yeast. So that's 14 grams, put it in there. And then I'm going to put 320 ml of warm water. You don't want the water to be too hot because it'll kill the yeast. So put your KitchenAid or your food processor or whatever you have, your mixer, on quite a low, 1 or 2. You don't want it whizzing around too quick, otherwise it'll just go everywhere and you'll end up with flour all over your face. I will leave that for about 10 minutes to knead. If you haven't got a machine, then knead it by hand. What you're trying to get here, because one of the issues in bread is hydration. You want actually quite a damp, sticky dough. You don't want too much flour in it. It won't rise properly and it'll be quite dry. So make sure that your dough is quite wet, wetter than you might feel comfortable with. Don't worry, it will hold together and it will rise really beautifully at the end. You know that your bread's starting to come together when it's detaching itself from the sides. Maybe it sticks a bit at the bottom. So I put my salt in, 10 grams of salt. Do salt your bread adequately. I think it just tastes so much better. Okay, I'm just taking off a little piece of my dough here. And what I'm going to do to see if it's kneaded enough is I'm doing the window test. So I'm pulling it apart. And if I get some translucent kind of areas that you can see through, then it's done. Cover it with cling film and leave it for an hour to rise. It should double in size. Here's a batch I made earlier today. That's nicely risen. Flour the surface. Cut off a small section. You see I've still got air bubbles in it. I'm trying not to deflate the dough. I want to keep it as light as possible. So I pop it on there. It's about 40 to 50 grams per roll. Roll it up and just kind of toss it around the flour a little bit so you can work with it and turn it into a ball. Tuck the seam underneath. Now, this is slightly unconventional. There's a little trick I read in Richard Batinet's dough book. You get a credit card and you make a little cut in the centre. It's a little bit fiddly, but you get there in the end. And then you take each little triangle and flip it the other way round. So I pinch the petals together, make little points. Doesn't matter if they're not perfect. I mean, it's organic, isn't it? It's a flour. I will leave it for another half hour, 40 minutes. So you can see these have risen, and now I'm going to pop them into the oven to bake. I'm just going to brush a bit of oil on these, and for the final touch, I'll sprinkle some marigold petals on them. Marigold bread rolls. Perfect with salad, cheese, anything you like. Delicious and pretty.